Hey, everyone. You're watching the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. My name is Andy Hall. Yeah, I'm doing finger guns right now. I guess my second cup of coffee's at the main line. Let's do something funny.
Are you in your 20s
Yeah.
and you don't really know how to decorate your apartment?
Yeah.
Introducing Plant.
What is it?
An apartment plant tells people, I'm trendy and mature.
What's up, man? Hey, nice plant.
Just don't overwater it though. You'll kill it and feel even worse.
Wait, what?
Get yours today.
You know what they don't tell you is that you can get another plant. Sure, you might feel worse for killing your plant, but there will be other plants. How's it going, Brain Bug? Simply Secular Dave from the West Coast. I hope things are going well over there. Yeah, things are going well over here too. Yesterday it was frigid, testicle cold, testicle level, freezing testicles cold. I don't know where I'm going with that, but it was really frigid out yesterday. Today it's a bit warmer, and I feel good about this. So what kind of stories are we covering today? The Vatican? Well, the Vatican, right? You probably already know, but yeah, the Vatican. Nothing good. Nothing good from the Vatican. I know you're surprised. So a flashback, something from a year ago or so about injecting bleach into our bodies. John Hudson, how you doing? So where else would you be? Very good. Global warming affecting people. Trumpers. This is going to be an interesting video we're going to watch after the halftime. Is a group of Trumpers explains how they've changed their opinions about the vaccine. And who would have thought it? States didn't count COVID death rates correctly. I know we're all surprised at that. All right. Yeah, everyone in the chat, I hope you're all doing well. I am doing okay. I have no complaints this morning. So far, so good. And the question, I thought I would just ask this. Do you know anyone who had COVID, who caught the disease, for sure, and now suffers long-term effects? I talked with a buddy of mine, hadn't seen him for a while, and this is over the weekend, and he's always had, ADHD, and he's a great guy. I've known him for years. And he seemed very, and he said, Andy, I actually had COVID and I got a test for it. And yes, I did have it, had to do the whole quarantine thing. And he just seemed a lot more ADHD-ish that, when I was talking with him. Now, I only talked with him for a short period of time. It was only one time. But I was thinking to myself this morning about the long-term effects of people with COVID. It's like, I wonder if this brain fog that some people get after recuperating from COVID, I wonder if that exacerbates ADHD symptoms, or if it can. And the thing is, we don't know a lot about the long-term effects of COVID because it's only been around for a year or so. Hey, Sammy Jenkins, how are you doing this morning?
I'm fine.
See,
Thanks.
that's Alexa right there, just saying. I don't even know why Alexa's talking right now. Simply Secular Dave says it's nice and sunny out here. Worked 2 days in the sun. Oh, a little pink on my face. Nice. Good for you. Good for you. And Sammy Jenkins. But yeah, now I feel that whenever I see people who have recuperated from COVID, I think one of the first questions from the jump I'm going to ask is whether or not they have any kind of long-term health effects from that. Is my Alexa friend single? I can tell you this, I am not in a relationship with my friend Alexa. So she could be, Brainbug, she could be. Oh, here it is, Leaf Spanner. Yes, I do, but they do not suffer. She was very ill and tested after high resistance in her bloodstream. But she's always been dopey. See, that's the thing too, right? And this is going to be the difficult aspect for scientists to figure out is what health effects are caused or were caused by COVID-19. We're going to see in a story later on today that a lot of states don't even know how many people, they know approximately how many people died from COVID-19, but we're not going to people are going to be struggling over the numbers about the actual casualties of this virus for years to come. I'm scared again, Dr. Mordecai. There's no reason to be scared. Sure, there might be reasons to be scared, but you're amongst friends here. So yeah, when I think about, and oh my fictitious God, I don't know if you've all heard about this, about how the CDC is considering the safe zone, right, for interpersonal space to be 3 feet now, as against the 6 feet. And I had Dr. David Kyle Johnson on this channel months ago talking about the research that went in about the 6 foot distance in terms of being a safe social, being safe from another person. And that research is based on 1930. So the 6 foot distance is probably too low. And now, because there's this real push for getting kids back in school, and they're like, well, we can't do a 6 foot distance in school, so maybe we should just bring it down to 3 feet, because then we could fill a lot more schools that way. Good morning, Jess. How are you doing this morning? I am doing well. So yeah, I heard the story yesterday about the CDC saying, well, maybe 3 feet's a good idea. And it's like, no, none of it's a good idea. Can't you just wait until everyone gets vaccinated? Can't you just wait until teachers get vaccinated? Everyone gets vaccinated to open up schools. All right. So funny things. We're gonna before we start talking about the Vatican and their current issues with gay marriage, gay unions, let's do a few funny things. Do something to put us some smiles on our faces. And you know what? I didn't do, here's the thing, everyone, about me doing this show alone, right? Basically, not having a producer around, is that when I make a big mistake, like forgetting to upload memes, images, pictures, what I usually start the show off. When I forget to do that, no one's there to say, Andy Hall, you forgot to do this thing that you were supposed to do like 2 or 3 hours ago, because I've been up since 5 this morning, 5:30, and I thought I had the show down. But the problem is that I didn't double check my work. So instead of going through funny memes and funny images, we're just going to jump into news stories right now. How's that? Good planning on my part, huh? Maybe I am the one with the brain fog. Maybe I am the one. Here it is. Vatican bars gay union blessing, says God can't bless sin. The Vatican making another great step forward in terms of LGBTQ rights right here, everyone. This is, of course, from the Associated Press. All links are in the description. Once again, Vatican bars gay union blessing, says God can't bless sin. In case you wondered where the Vatican was, where the true church is, right? The Catholic Church, the one true church is in terms of LGBTQ rights. Not really on the forefront. All right, let's look at the story. Rome. The Vatican declared Monday that the Catholic Church won't bless same-sex unions since God cannot bless sin. The Vatican's Orthodoxy Office, the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, issued a formal response to a question about whether Catholic clergy had the authority to bless gay unions. The answer, contained in a 2-page explanation published in 7 languages and approved by Pope Francis, was negative. So I'm going to do a little diversion here. For people who believe that faith and science, 2 sides of the same coin, or can be reconciled, Not so much. And here's going to be a reason why. Here's why faith and science, they're irreconcilable at their very core. Because would any scientific organization have an orthodoxy office, right? The Vatican has an orthodoxy office. Would any scientific organization have an orthodoxy office? Not if they're doing it right. Not if they're doing it correctly. The note distinguished between the church welcoming and blessing of gay people, which it upheld, but not their unions. It argued that such unions are not part of God's plan, and that any sacramental recognition of them could be confused with marriage. Well, we don't want confusion, do we? Excuse me. The note immediately pleased conservatives, disheartened advocates for LGBT Catholics, and threw a wrench in the debate within the German church, which had been at the forefront of opening discussion on hot-button issues such as the church's teaching on homosexuality. Francis de Bernardo, executive director of the New Ways Ministry, which advocates for greater acceptance of gays in the church, predicted the Vatican position would be ignored, including some Catholic clergy. Well, at least it's going to be partly ignored. Catholic people recognize the holiness of love between committed same-sex couples and recognize this love as divinely inspired and divinely supported, and thus meets the standard to be blessed, he said in a statement. The Vatican holds that gay people must be treated with dignity and respect, but the gay man, wow, here it is, right? Here it is. I'm gonna take a deep breath and try to say this sentence over again. The Vatican holds that gays, because you know the reason why I need to take a breath is because when I start reading hate speech, because that's what this is. This is just hate speech from the Vatican. When I read hate speech, it makes me choke up a bit. It gets me the angers. That's what this does. It gets me the angers. Focus, center, continue. The Vatican holds that gay people must be treated with dignity and respect, but that gay sex is intrinsically disordered. Catholic teaching says that marriage is a lifelong union between a man and a woman, is part of God's plan, and is intended for the sake of creating new life. So, as many of you know, my name is Professor Catnard on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, my Twitter handle is @LaughPurgatory, but my latest incarnation is Professor Catnard. And this was just my response to the story when I heard it yesterday. Traditional Catholic Church marriage is a nuclear family plus their friendly neighborhood pedophile priest. And as you can see, I got a retweet, a couple of likes. I stand by my statement. I stand by my statement about the Catholic Church. Let's see how chat's doing. If anyone else is as angry and as agitated as I am, maybe you are. I don't know. It's still early to be angry and agitated too. All right, let's go. I want memes. I'm sorry, Dr. Mordecai, completely. They're in my folder. I just never uploaded them. Let's see. Bring back the input. Here we go. Imaginary God, glad to see you here. Hopefully we get our moral positions from a better source than the corrupt criminal organization. The only thing that I would add on top of that, Imaginary God, is that it's an international corrupt criminal organization. It's like a James Bond villain. It's as if Smersh, yeah, I'm bringing up Smersh, which was I think the original bad guys in the Ian Fleming's books. Smersh, or some kind of like the Legion of Evil was a real thing, and people just generally accepted it. That's what the Catholic Church is. Good morning, Jesse Bear. Glad to see that you're here. Well, Lee, you're lucky. You're lucky, brother. Thank the universe I was never a Christian and was not raised with any knowledge of that religion. You're lucky. You're lucky. When I have to talk to my kids about faith, I never have to try to deprogram them because they were raised as atheists. They were raised as free thinkers. And so when I'm talking about religion with them, it's always from the position that, and this is the godless prime directive, by the way, which I always told my kids, that that God is an imaginary friend many people have, but you cannot tell them that he's an imaginary friend because they will get angry with you. Now, that was the godless prime directive that I would tell my kids when they were young, because I didn't want my kids to go around telling their associates in class that God was an imaginary person, because that would get them into trouble. But yeah, never having been raised, never having been brainwashed in the faith, it is, you are free. You're free from that contagion, from that meme. Oh, you had a week's worth of aggravation yesterday. I'm sorry to hear that, John Hudson. I'm sorry to hear that. So yes, so the Vatican Church is saying gay people, basically, as I understand church doctrine, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, that gay people, you're fine as long as you don't act out on your proclivities, as long as you can be gay as long as you're not being gay. That's how I understand Catholic doctrine. I'm a Protestant atheist, so my understanding of Catholic doctrine may not be complete, but that's how I understand it. But they are definitely double sure that gay unions are intrinsically sinful, that they're saying that basically anyone who is married and who is gay, gay marriage, anyone who is involved in that, they are in a evil union, that the union itself is evil. And Pope Francis signed off on this. Once again, Pope Francis is there just to whitewash a lot of what the Catholic Church does. The last Pope, horrible for the public image, right? So they needed someone to basically whitewash the horrible organization known as the Catholic Church, and that's what he's doing to the best of his ability. But he does have to sign off on these horrible decrees, like LGBTQ people. Sure, we'll bless them for just being a member of the church, but if they're actually going to come out of the closet, if they're going to be who they are in the world, then we can't really get behind that. Oh, dude, a full week smoke-free? Congratulations on that. That, in terms of physical addictions, nicotine is a tough road. It is a tough drug to be free of. Well, you're right about that, Dr. Mordecai. You have to be careful with God. No telling what that maniac will do next. If you haven't seen Hemant Mehta's The Friendly Atheist, he did a 2.5-hour video on how many people God killed in the Bible, something like 25 million. It's definitely worth checking out. It's all time-stamped. You can see individual, in case you have favorite murders that God did. One of my personal favorites is how King David killed 200 Philistines. He took 200 foreskins so that he could give it to his future father-in-law. Yeah, all that stuff. Well, I imagine there are many benefits of being smoke-free, John Hudson. I imagine that there are many benefits. Actually, for those of us old enough to remember, old enough to have grown up in smoke was everywhere. There were non-smoking sections in restaurants. There were smoking sections and non-smoking sections. And then before that, there was just smoke everywhere. And now, actually, just walking down the street, I can smell someone's cigarette if they're walking 20, 30 feet away from me. It's crazy. Oh, to the baby dashing. That's right. All right, what's the next story? Oh, we're going to do a video. This is a flashback, everyone. This is going to be a flashback video. Let's take a look at this.
I like this stuff. My uncle is a great person. He was at MIT. He taught at MIT for, I think, like a record number of years. He was a great super genius. Dr. John Trump. I like this stuff. I really get it. People are surprised if I understand Every one of these doctors said, how do you know so much about this? Maybe I have a natural ability. Maybe I should have done that instead of running for president.
Last thing before we go tonight, how blessed we were to have a president with such a natural ability with these viruses. But seriously, back here in the real world, when we count up the top 10 moments of the 4 years we just survived, the Trump years, not everyone is going to agree on a playlist of the truly worst moments. But this next one is right up there, certainly in terms of national embarrassment. Let's set the scene. White House briefing room, April 23rd of last year. And as of that day, the U.S. death toll was just under 50,000. The virus was in the process, in other words, of carving up our country. The president was a virus denier, of course. And remember, that was the original big lie, that it was the flu and it would go away. The pressure on the people around the president to also pretend it wasn't serious was so intense that Trump was able to demand the silence of people who knew better, starting with that guy, Mike Pence, who chaired the coronavirus task force. And let's not forget Dr. Deborah Birx, a military veteran who was all about chain of command, it turns out, meaning she was cool with whatever her commander-in-chief said. But on that day, that's the day the president decided to go deep and take his supple mind for a spin in the world of medicine.
And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
So much was said and written back then about the look on Dr. Birx's face. And by the way, that look was all we got. We apparently didn't deserve more than that. That look didn't stop people from showing up in emergency rooms having ingested bleach. That look did nothing to stop the exploding anti-vax population among Trump supporters that we're living with to this day. She said nothing. Still on brand, she is talking now. In a new interview, she tells Terry Moran of ABC News, quote, "You can see how extraordinarily uncomfortable I was. Frankly, I didn't know how to handle that episode. I still think about it every day." Here's the part we think about every day. The death toll in America, which as of tonight stands at 538,091. Don't worry about Dr. Birx. She's enjoying a soft landing in the private sector. ABC News reports she has joined the board of the pharmaceutical company Innoviva. And since we know you have a choice in air filtration products, please know she is the chief medical and science advisor for Active Pure Technologies based in Dallas, in case such a thing is important to you.
Wow. So to answer your question, girlfriend, it was not the light in the anus one. It's obviously the drinking bleach. Here's the thing. And we've all been caught off guard, right? I've been personally caught off guard by something crazy someone has said around me. And you see, I have like a whole 8-minute comedy bit about this incredibly racial thing someone said to me at my kid's bus stop, maybe 12 years ago. And I still talk about it. I still talk about it. And probably whenever I go back up on stage, when that happens, I will still be putting that into my regular routine because it was such a crazy situation. And I have to tell you, when you do something wrong, when you're an accomplice of evil, when you're complicit, you basically have a burden. You have a burden to make it right. You have a burden not to say things like, words, right? Everyone can say words, but what are your actions? What are you doing to make this right? You can just say, I think about it every day. Well, that's nice. So what are you going to do to make it right? Well, I'm going to join the board of a pharmaceutical company or a medical device company, and we're going to make filtration devices. I don't think that's really making it right. I don't think that's restitution. All right. So, hey, Math Pig, glad to see that you're here. Glad to see you're here. Woo! Matt Pig. I used to smoke Camel non-filters back in the day. I used to smoke Camel non-filters. Hey, Samuel. My cousin went to MIT, is now unemployed. Wow. Worked for Boeing for 27 years. Tough. John Hudson. Why would Pence do that? I don't know. Maybe we should ask his mother, his wife, mother. Yeah, St. Patrick's Day is coming up, right? Well, dude, I feel like we're friends at this point, Lee. I completely agree with you. She should have resigned the White House that day. Exactly. Or she should have put herself into a position that she would have to be fired. That's my favorite move, of course. It's like, I will stay here and be a thorn in your side, but I will speak as loudly and as clearly as possible and let people know what I exactly think about putting bleach in your body. And I want to tell you something. This whole bleach in the body thing, that's what they said about AIDS too, and HIV. As someone who went through the crisis, I've heard that canard before, like 40 years ago, during the midst of the gay crisis. Well, you just got to put bleach in your body. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they should have all resigned. Those who knew better, those who cared. But as you said, the money is honey. People would rather get paid than to act in a humane way. And how much money do you need? The doctor, she's doing okay, right? So it isn't just the idea that they need to have money in their pocket, but they need to get as much money as they can in their pocket, and it doesn't matter who they hurt. All right, so, right? Ask mother. Why would Pence be looking at Trump's butt? I don't know. All right, is this halftime show? I think this is halftime show. I know I uploaded a video today for halftime show, so let's do that. Take a breath, refocus.
So make a Tarantino movie, do a Mad Lib, give me a historical event.
Prohibition.
Now rewrite it.
It doesn't happen.
How?
Violence.
Give me an actor that deserves a second chance.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Give me a way a movie shouldn't play out.
Chapters.
Give me an emotion.
Angry.
And give me a completely unrelated genre.
Samurai films.
And just Samuel L. Jackson, say his name.
Huh?
Say his
Samuel L.
name.
Jackson.
All right. In Tarantino's next movie, 9 bar owners band together to stop the prohibition by killing the lawmakers before they can pass a bill. They hire a moonshine runner to be their getaway driver, played by Freddie Prinze Jr. And guess what? He's really great in it. Like, where's he been this whole time? He just needed a serious role. It plays out violently for 5 chapters to the score of a samurai movie. It's called 10 Angry Drunks, and oh yeah, Samuel L. fucking Jackson's in it. Money!
It's important to say that this video is probably going to be demonetized. Any support you can give the channel would be appreciated. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And any shekel you could throw my way would be appreciated. Is that how Quentin Tarantino creates movies? I doubt it. I like Quentin Tarantino's movies myself. But I thought there's some truth to that. There's something truthful about that. All right. Samuel says, my great-grandmother smoked Campbell non-filters for 90 years. She was 106 and still smoking to the end. Some people just have the gene. They have the Keith Richards gene, right? Keith Richards comes from a very long-lived family line, from what I understand. And if you have the gene, you can do a lot to your body. I don't think I have the gene myself. I don't think I have the gene. I would be happy. From what I understand of my genetic history, I think my biological dad lived to be in his 80s, so that's nice, right? But I don't think I could afford to smoke Camel non-filters every day and still live to be 100, 106. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty funny bit too, John Hudson. I thought that was pretty fun. Hey, Samuel, thank you. St. Patty Day's Eve, and I'm 20% Irish. Yeah, I don't know if I told anyone this. Possibly, Dr. Mordecai. And once again, thank you, Samuel. Great. I appreciate it. Every penny counts because it's St. Patty's Day and I'm 20.2% Irish. I told my kid, my ex-wife is Scottish, like Scottish. Her parents are both Scots. And when she was young, her parents wouldn't dress her in green on St. Patrick's Day. So as many of you know, I just reconnected with my birth family and through 23andMe. And I found out that I'm part Irish. And so I told my daughter, if you're ever angry with your mom or if you have any issue with your grandparents, you can always tell them, hey, did you know I'm part Irish? No, thanks, Samuel. I love the show and enjoy supporting the content. That's great. Thank you. Once again, much appreciated. Much appreciated. Well, this is the thing that, and I just finished reading Sanjay Gupta's book, Staying Sharp, and this is true. From what I understand of the research, the genes, and I'm agreeing with Lee here, genes don't count as much as what you put in your mouth, eating and drinking, though there are some people who are outliers and who can drink and smoke and live to be 106 or 110. But once again, statistically speaking, they are outliers. They are abnormal. Yeah, I just did a reference to Young Frankenstein right there. I just did that. So, and that's the thing, right? Our minds cling to the outliers because they're so outlierish. But for a majority of us, we can't abuse our bodies without something really bad happening. B is here. Hey, B. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. All right, so what's the next story here? What are we doing next, everyone? What did we do so far? The Vatican talking about gay marriage being intrinsically evil. Yes, that's what they said. The video of Dr. Birx being complicit with Donald J. Trump. This next story is about global warming and how stupid people are. Yeah, I know, everyone. It's another ride on the stupid train. Okay, so let's go to this next story. Tiny town, big decision. What are we willing to pay to fight the rising sea? No one wants to pay anything, and they want everybody else to pay for it. So I'm giving away the whole story here. Tiny town, big decision. What are we willing to pay to fight the rising sea? It turns out no one wants to pay anything out of their own pocket, and they want other people to foot their cottage, their vacation property, their seaside property. Now you would think, okay, let's go into the story. Avon, North Carolina. Bobby Outen, that's how I'm going to pronounce his name, a county manager in the Outer Banks, delivered 2 pieces of bad news at a recent public meeting. Avon, a town with a few hundred full-time residents, desperately needed at least $11 million to stop its main road from washing away. And to help pay for it, Dare County wanted to increase Avon's property taxes, and in some cases by almost 50%. Homeowners mostly agreed with the urgency of the first part. They were considerably less keen on the second. People gave Outen their own ideas about who should pay to protect their town. The federal government, the state government, the rest of the county, tourists, people who rent to tourists. The view for many seemed to be anyone but them. And just to give you the gravity of the situation, in case you don't know what the Outer Banks are in North Carolina, they are sandbars. They are small ribbons of land. And here's a picture. They'll say 1 million words. So you can see there's ocean everywhere. There's water everywhere. There's so much water. There's actually water in the middle of the land right there. How viable is this community in the age of the global crisis, the global climate crisis? How viable is this stretch of land? How viable are those vacation homes? Not just the ones right by the ocean either, but all of it. How viable is that over time? All right. Outen kept responding with the same message. Nobody's coming to the rescue. See, this is what happens when I get angry. I have to do this. Nobody's coming to the rescue. We have only our own selves. We've got to act now, he said. The risks of tiny Avon from climate change is particularly dire. It is, after all, located on a mere sandbar of an island chain in a relentlessly rising Atlantic. But people in the town are facing a question that is starting to echo along the U.S. coastline as seas rise and storms intensify. What price can be put on saving a town, a neighborhood, a home where generations have built their lives? Oh, there's a number, and the insurance companies know what that number is. And it isn't going to be a number that those homeowners like. Communities large and small are reaching for different answers. Officials in Miami, Tampa, Houston, San Francisco, and elsewhere have borrowed money, raised taxes, or increased water bills to help pay for efforts to shield their homes, schools, and roads. Along the Outer Banks, where tourist-friendly beaches are shrinking by more than 14 feet a year, 14 feet a year, according to the North Carolina Division of Coastal Management, other towns have imposed tax increases similar to the one Avon is considering. On Monday, county officials will vote on whether Avon will join them. This despite the reality that Avon's battle is most likely a losing one. At its highest point, the town is just a couple dozen feet above sea level. But most houses, as well as the main road, are along the beachfront. There is a way to reclaim the beach in which you would dredge sand out of the ocean. You would bring it to the island, to the sandbar where everyone lives on, and put the sand on the beach. Now then, the problem with this, it's Sisyphean in its nature. Is that a word? I think I'm going to go with that as a word. The idea that you're dredging sand out of the ocean to bring it back onto the beach just for the beach to wash away. It is absurd and costly. And once again, we just heard from that article. We just saw 14 feet of beach just in a year. All right. Wrong panel, right panel. Based on the science that I've seen for sea level rise, at some point the Outer Banks, the way they are today, are not forever, said David Halleck, superintendent of the National Parks in Eastern North Carolina, including the Cape Hatteras National Seashore, which encompasses the land around Avon. Exactly when that happens is not clear. It's all going to be gone. It's all going to be gone. And what's going to happen? It's such a huge problem that these communities are and we haven't gotten our collective minds around it. What's going to happen? Sea level rises? Where's all that crap going to go? All the toxic waste? All the trash, all the rest, we know that we're just going to be leaving our homes there. People aren't going to be rescuing or deconstructing their homes and putting them somewhere else. All that material is just going to get washed out into sea too. Over the last decade, hurricanes have caused $65 million in damage to Highway 12, the two-lane road that runs along the Outer Banks and connects Avon with other towns in the mainland. The federal and state governments are spending an additional $155 million to replace a section of Highway 12 with a 2.4-mile bridge, as the road can no longer be protected from the ocean. Hatteras Island has been evacuated 5 times since 2010. County officials turned to what is called beach nourishment, which involves dredging sand from the ocean floor a few miles off coast and then pushing it to the shore through a pipeline and laying it on the beach. Those projects can cost tens of millions. And the county's requests for federal state money to pay for them went nowhere. Yeah, no one's going to pay for your beach nourishment except for you. And whatever sucker you can con into beach nourishment. Okay, so you build your property or you have property that it's going to be gone. You don't know when it's going to be gone, but it's going to be gone soon. It's going to be gone soon. It'll be a hurricane. It'll be a hurricane with a high tide combined to it, and it's just going to get washed away. And here's the thing too. Republicans, it's our basic nature. that we want handouts. We want someone else to pay for our F-ups. We want someone else to wipe our butts for us. We want our cake and we want to eat it too. I like cake and I want to eat it too, sure. But I know that if I make a bad decision, because I'm an adult, and I think everyone here who's watching the stream right now, you're an adult too. You understand that if you screw stuff up, you have to fix it yourself. No one's going to come and save you ultimately, and that's the burden of adulthood. If you make a mistake, you have to fix the mistake. Sam Eggleston, a retired optometrist who moved to Avon 3 years ago from outside Raleigh, North Carolina, and bought a house on the western side of town, said even that smaller amount is too much. That's about the property tax. He said that because Highway 12 is owned by the state should have to pay for it. If government wants to help, Eggleston argues, it should pay people to move their houses somewhere else. A solution, he said, would at least be permanent. To keep spending millions and millions of dollars on the beach, to me, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, the government's not going to pay you to move your house. That is delusional. The government is not going to pay. The government can, it's not going to pay you, 1%er, affluent person who has beachfront property. They're not going to pay you to move your entire house. That is just pie in the sky. All right, I'm going to go back to the chat. Calm down a little bit. Oh yeah, well, Samuel, you're right about that. Samuel Gray, land in Central Alabama will be beachfront one day also. Yep. And B notes the Army Corps of Engineers had to do that on the beach reclamation, the beach nourishment. Yeah, being an adult is not. Yeah, it does. It's there's some benefits to it. Drinking, for one. Maybe I have a problem with drinking, but drinking is a benefit of being an adult. Though you can rightly say you don't have to be an adult to drink either. All right. So at least the bridge and tunnel, from Norfolk to Eastern Shore pays for Virginia beaches. It pays for them right now. Will it pay in the long term? Did they ask Jesus for help? Well, that's a very good question. Imaginary God. There should be a lot, but there should be a prayer wall. You know how they have beach walls, right? They have ocean walls. There should be a prayer wall to see if they can keep the ocean from washing them all away. Here it is. Brain bug. This is so true. Ben Shapiro already solved this problem. They just need to sell their homes and move inland. Easy peasy. Yeah. Ben Shapiro, he is such a sage. He is such a scholar for idiocy. Yeah. Sell and move. Just sell and move. Just move. All right. So, just move. Just cut your losses. And if the government can help you, I don't know, man. If you buy property by the ocean and it's out there. All the data's out there. There is a climate crisis going on and you decide to buy beachfront property in the Outer Banks. It says it in the name, Outer Banks. It's you might as well translate that to you are screwed if you're buying property here. All right. I like that. Well said. Well played, imaginary God. Their houses are going to get baptized. Full immersion, not just the sprinkling of the water. There will be full Baptist level baptisms there. All right. So what are we doing next? Trumpers. Maybe you're not aware of this, but there are many Trumpers out there. Past supporters, present supporters of President Trump. And the good news is that many of them, or some of them, are changing their minds about getting the vaccine. This is positive, right? Because everyone should get the vaccine if they can, if they're available to get it. And here is how some people are getting their minds changed. This video we're going to look at is about how people are changing their minds about the vaccine. Republicans, primarily, right? People who support Trump. And I thought it'd be worth sharing with you because it's really, I find it intriguing when people do change their minds. It's so infrequent. Why do they do it? Why do they think they do it? So let's take a look at this and maybe we get some wisdom from it, right?
Republican pollster Frank Luntz did a focus group over the weekend with vaccine-hesitant Trump voters. The Washington Post detailed the results. They blamed their hesitation on doubts about the long-term effects of new vaccines and accused politicians and government scientists for repeatedly misleading them. What was interesting, though, the Post reports they blamed Democrats and not the former president for this. At the same time, though, what seemed to change their minds the most were not political endorsements of getting vaccinated, but more science, more evidence. There's a woman named Sue from Iowa who says she went from being about 50-50 on getting a shot to 75% in favor.
I like the doctors. I like the medical situation when they give us the facts and talk to us without any politics involved. I think that helps me see that my bias was probably with the political side of it, getting involved and just separating the medical side of it. If I can look just at the medical and health side of it, I'm much better off than when they mix politics in with it.
Well, 19 people took part in that group, which included Republican politicians and former CDC Director Dr. Tom Frieden. All 19 came out of it saying they were more likely to get the vaccine than they were going in. Joining us now is Dr. Tom Frieden. So, Doctor, thanks for being with us. So, we heard that focus group participant say she liked hearing the facts about the vaccines. For you, was that the big takeaway, that separating politics from science in order to get people to trust the vaccine?
It was a really interesting conversation, Anderson, because this is a group that is strongly pro-Trump. They have a lot of doubts about the vaccine, but they're not people who are totally anti-vax, and that was how they were selected. And they clearly believe that the virus, the vaccine, and the response has been politicized. And what they wanted was, they didn't want to hear from any politicians, not even former President Trump. They wanted to hear from doctors, their own doctors, and they had understandable, rational concerns. They wanted to know, what's the evidence about the long-term health complications of the vaccine? This is a reasonable question, and they wanted to listen to it. And I think that's the fundamental message, that for each community, we need to listen and figure out both the messages that are going to resonate most and the messengers who will be most effective. And I'll tell you, some of the most effective messages were virtually every doctor who's offered this vaccine is going to get it. No corners were cut in approving it. Only red tape was cut to get it approved quickly. And it was not rushed to the market in a year. This is a technology that was more than a decade in the making. And the trials were not small. There were tens of thousands of people, and not a single person, as far as we know, has died from getting the vaccine.
Dr. Fauci said it would be helpful if former President Trump encouraged his supporters to get the vaccine. Though President Biden, who we just heard, says, look to community leaders, local doctors to promote it. Your focus group, did they care about the former president's opinion on taking the vaccine?
It was actually somewhat surprising. I think it surprised Frank Luntz, who organized the whole group. They really didn't want to hear from any politicians, not even former President Trump. They wanted to hear from their own doctor, and that's why it's so important to get shots into the offices of doctors as soon as the supply gets a little more than it is now. And they wanted to hear from medical professionals.
Chris Christie also spoke during the meeting, talked about his own personal ordeal with COVID-19. I'm wondering if personal and emotional stories had an impact on changing them.
Yes, in fact, it wasn't so much Chris Christie's stories or his description of getting COVID at the White House. It was his discussion of two family members, one of them quite healthy, who both died from COVID. That clearly had an impact. And this is one thing that's very important. We need to give honest, accurate narratives of what COVID does, of the death, of also the long COVID and the suffering that causes, because fundamentally, we can't give you 100% certainty that there's not going to be some rare adverse event of this vaccine 10 years down the line. But we can tell you with 100% certainty that you're much less likely to get COVID if you get the vaccine. And if you do get COVID, it's going to be replicating all over your body for a week, and that you do have a chance of having long-term suffering as a result.
Yeah, that was one of the things that personally for me was really powerful. I did a piece on 60 Minutes about, so-called long haulers, people who had actually mild symptoms when they actually were infected and thought they'd kind of gotten away. They had some bad days, but it wasn't, they weren't hospitalized, many of them. And yet, 8 months later, they're still, having trouble walking, having trouble breathing, having brain fog and the like. And that for me was really kind of a wake up of you don't even want to get it and not have any symptoms or think you have mild symptoms. We played sound a few minutes ago from the former FDA head Scott Gottlieb telling CBS this weekend about the evidence has shown that vaccines are reducing asymptomatic infection and transmission. Dr. Gottlieb, we should point out, is on the board of Pfizer. If he's right, that is a huge step toward getting the virus under control. What more do you know about that?
Well, we have better and better news about the vaccine. What you're seeing already in the U.S. Is a dramatic decrease in nursing home deaths, and that is undoubtedly an impact of vaccination. Already, these vaccines are saving thousands of lives in this country, and that effect is going to get even greater in the coming weeks as vaccine-induced immunity kicks in for more and more people who are over the age of 65. So this is making this virus even less lethal. And there is growing evidence that it reduces the likelihood that you'll spread the virus to others. But we don't know that yet. It's not certain. But I do think that the vaccine is getting the best of the virus. Now, we're not out of the woods. It ain't over till it's over. You're seeing explosive spread in Europe and parts of Latin America. You're seeing variants that can overwhelm the immunity that you get from getting the virus infection before. So it's really a race of the vaccine against the variants. And the more we control the virus, the more we vaccinate, the greater the likelihood that we'll get to a new normal sooner.
All right. So there we go. It's interesting about Trump supporters saying that they want to be educated. And it's like, no. You don't really want to be educated. The woman who's saying, well, I just want to see the science. It's like you're resistant to science. What it is that there are these other non-rational forces acting on you. And so you would like to think of yourself as a reasonable person, as we all do. But you have shown that you're not a reasonable person, that you're not a rational person. So for a variety of different reasons, you're now deciding that you want the vaccine. Now, why do Trump supporters suddenly want the vaccine? Or why do some Trump supporters, why have they changed their mind? It isn't because they want the science. It isn't because they're going to sift through the data and the trials, the results from the trials to figure out. No, it's because their doctor, right? As we saw in the video, it's because of personal relationships. They have friends, family members, co-workers who are now getting the vaccine. Social norms theory shows that people, if they believe a majority of folks are doing a certain kind of behavior, they are far more likely to engage in that behavior. An example of this, hotels do this. Some hotels do this. They may leave a note saying 80% of our visitors do not ask us to wash their towels every day, for an example, right? People are far less likely to ask to have clean towels every day. So if people perceive that a majority of the population are engaged in a certain behavior, then they are far more likely to do that behavior. These people, by and large, are not weighing out the evidence. What they are doing are responding to irrational drives, right? I mean, it's great that they're making the right decision and getting vaccines, but it isn't because they're looking through the evidence. It certainly is not. And I would also say another variable too, and tell me if I'm wrong, chap, is that Trump not tweeting about this every day. The fact that he's somewhat in radio silence, that's also affecting his fans and his supporters. Trump supporters who say that they don't want politicians to talk about it, that's BS. That is BS. If Trump was talking about it, a lot of these people who've changed their minds about a lot of these Republicans who've changed their mind about the vaccine, they would easily have gone back into the the I'm not getting the vaccine camp. One of the reasons is that Trump is just not tweeting because he's not on social media. Yeah, they're not looking through the evidence. Wow. All right. Here it is. Simply secular. Anderson always looks like the IT guy is explaining how to reinstall the operating system on his laptop. This is true. This is true. He is patient, going stage by stage. You shouldn't be scared, Dr. Mordecai. The good thing is that people are getting the vaccine and people are changing their minds. It's not for the reason why they think that their behavior is changing. Yeah, and that's the thing. Even though we are, and this is not my quote, of course, this is not something I cooked up with, but we are capable of reason, but we are not reasonable creatures by and large. And Trump supporters just proved that. Silence and the people rejoice. That's right. So what did we go through this morning, everyone? Hey, can you believe it's almost at the end of an hour? It's hard to believe. What did we go through? What did we look at today on the Disappointed Cat Morning Show? We talked about the Vatican, thinking gay marriage is sinful, evil. I would say evil, sure. The video of Dr. Burks. What does it mean to be complicit with evil and making tons of cash off it? Tiny town in North Carolina about to be washed away, but the citizens want somebody else to pay for it. Trumpers changing minds. Oh, wait, there's one more freaking story we should talk about. And this is in the I Told You So. This was highly predictable. My girlfriend, she texted me this story yesterday with you were right about this, Andy, which is always great to hear, me being right and having confirmation about this. States are finding more unreported COVID-19 deaths. Backlogs, and this is from the Journal, Wall Street Journal. Backlogs can temporarily raise daily death tolls. Nobody likes surprises. Look, we've been talking about this for months at this point, that we don't know how many people died from COVID. What we do know are that the numbers are too low. The official numbers are too low. And this confirms that position. While COVID-19 deaths had lower, raising hopes that the U.S. is turning a corner as vaccinations continue, states around the country are steadily finding previously unreported deaths that are causing data confusion. The issues largely involve systems that states are using to try to report COVID-19 data in near real time and not deaths reported more slowly through death certificates. These frontline numbers are the ones that fuel state dashboards and data trackers, like the closely watched one created by Johns Hopkins University, which help policymakers and their public closely monitor pandemic trends. Yes, it's hard to believe that many states who have bungled the COVID-19 response have bungled counting how many people have actually died from the disease, from the virus. Ohio in February announced more than 4,000 additional deaths while reconciling its data, and Indiana added another 1,500. Smaller revisions have also recently come from Virginia, Minnesota, and Rhode Island. On Thursday, authorities in West Virginia said medical providers hadn't properly reported 168 deaths to the public health department. Nobody likes surprises, and I'm just going to stop it right here. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. If you are paying attention, this is not a surprise. If my stupid brain can figure out that, and I didn't even figure it out. I was listening to the Sam Harris podcast, listening to an epidemiologist talk about this. And they're like, yeah, dude, there's going to be, paraphrasing. It's like, yeah, there's going to be a lot more deaths. We are underreporting deaths right now. We are underreporting. This shouldn't, if you are paying attention, this is not a surprise. Nobody likes surprises and nobody likes data that's wrong because that's what drives decisions. Well, that's naive too. The idea that data drives decisions. That's a nice, naive concept too. West Virginia's state health officer. These issues underscore ways in which COVID-19 can still challenge data reporting systems in the U.S. Like many countries, the U.S. is trying to track pandemic events nearly as they happen. And a big part of this has required speeding up how deaths are reported. So basically, when you see the numbers, the official numbers of the dead, assume or it is safe to say those numbers are too low. We will not know how many people died from COVID-19 for quite a while. After the virus is gone, after we've all been vaccinated, or most of us have been vaccinated, it'll still take time to figure out how many people actually died from COVID-19. So when you look at those numbers, once again, they're fuzzy numbers. That's what they are. They're fuzzy numbers. All right, chat. Wow. Yeah, okay, David Paul, thank you. I agree. It was obvious about the undercounting, especially when Republican governors did not want the numbers out. Exactly. Which makes all of this opening up frustrating. The idea that they want to send kids back in school full time, frustrating. The idea that they want to make the social distance official distance 3 feet as against a 6. I don't think any of our policies, or most of our policies in response to COVID-19, have not been science-based, have not been data-based. John Hudson. No, I get to John Hudson. Numbers are hard. That is so true. That is so true, John Hudson. I should. You were right, Andy. Just right. Just right back here. You know what I've been thinking about doing? Just getting a whiteboard, right? Just getting a whiteboard and just writing stuff down on the whiteboard. I should actually pick that up. I should buy one. Here we go, brain bug. We need an overlay of states that underreported and the states that went red in November. Well, yeah, exactly, brain bug. Wow. All right. Let's go to before we put a bow on this thing, before we tie things up, I got something funny to show you.
A chocolate potato cake from 1912. This is why we don't perform lobotomies anymore. Boil a potato.
Did I mention this was a cake? Skins stay on, unlike Americans.
Fire! Cream the butter.
Can we at least have coffee first?
Butter go boom. Should be a pale white. Eggy. Wakey.
Who's tough now?
Moo juice. Bloop. Zim-a-nim.
Chocolate.
I bet this recipe is just
All the wrong answers on a baking test. Smells like dentures.
Go away.
Goodbye.
For the icing, we boil butter, sugar, milk, and chocolate.
My time has come. Not bad, dead people.
All right. You're not supposed to work.
It's incredible, and I'm mad about it.
Now I want to have some potato cake. Now I want to make some chocolate potato cake. Hey, Gary Priestley. Glad to see you're here. Yeah. That guy has hair like Woody Woodpecker. You're right about that, Dr. Mordecai. All right, everyone. It's been over an hour. I've had a lot of fun. I hope you had a couple of chuckles during our time together today. You might have learned something. I don't know. Hopefully you did. I know I did. Smells like dentures. Exactly, John Hudson. Right? A potato chocolate cake from 1912? It does sound like a good idea. I mean, it sounds like a simple recipe, to tell you the truth. All right. Tomorrow, what are we doing? Oh, well, I'm doing the show today at 3 o'clock. Playing some Jenga, hanging out with you guys, just talking, chatting. I was working. Sorry, I missed it. All right. We'll let it go this time. This one time, right? This one time. And so I'm doing this thing at 3 o'clock, building towers, watching them fall. Is that a metaphor for life? Maybe it is. Possibly, probably it is. And of course, 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, we're doing this whole crazy thing over again. Thanks for showing up. Please hit like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And you can hit the bell. If you hit the bell, you get to see all the videos. You get to be notified of all the videos that I produce. Joy, joy, happy, happy. All right. Epic pose. Epic pose to close the show off. I'm going to read. That's my epic pose.